Are you ready to start, everyone?
Let's do this.
Fantastic. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Beverly Jenkins. I'm your semi-host for this afternoon's webinar on Scriptation. It's a new app that they have been using in other artistic disciplines, not necessarily in theater, but I know they use it in film and television. And my good friend and coworker, Rico Cohen, is going to take us through the whole thing. Why are we having this webinar? We're having this webinar partly because we want to see how is this going to affect us going back? How is this going to change how we share information that changes in the script? How can this cut out some time? How can this possibly save money? We will get to all of that stuff. Before we start, let's just do a little housekeeping. I need to clean my house. Housekeeping. First thing, if you have questions during the webinar, please use the Q&A. If you see a little raised hand next to that, it says Q&A and has two bubbles next to it. That's where you should ask your questions. And my good friend, Molly Braverman, will read them out and she will get in as many as possible. Let's see, there's I am, if for those of you who don't know me, which is a lot, I never think anybody knows me except for the people I'm talking to. My name is Beverly Jenkins. I'm currently the production stage manager when we go back to work on Hadestown. And I am also on the I am a founding member of CTT COVID-19 Theater Think Tank. And I am also a founding member of Broadway and Beyond, Access for Stage Managers of Color. I do that with Lisa Dawn Cave and Jimmy Lee Smith. A question I get asked often because of my association with CTT is, how do we go back? When will we go back? What would it look like when we go back? When we go back? The biggest question that everybody wants to know, because it hits all of us in different reasons, the pocketbook, we need to get out of the house, is when. The answer really is we could go back tomorrow within the government's guidelines, but those guidelines don't work for our business. We can't go back to two people sitting in the house. You know, that 33% of people, that's us also. So you have to count us, the millions of people who run the show. So it's a, hopefully by the fall, the government will loosen up enough. As you already know, it loosened up yesterday because we don't have to wear masks outside when I'm taking my 5-mile walk. Happy, not showing off, just saying that. That's what I do. So that's a plus. Will we need to wear masks? Probably. Will we have Will we go back to the same ways? No, we won't. It'll be the new normal. I always say that the water fountain, that has gone the way of the dodo, because that's just not going to happen anymore. So there are lots of things that will change, but hopefully if things continue the way they are, and I cannot say it enough, wear your mask, get vaccinated, wash your hands, don't spit on people you don't know, we'll be able to get back to work. So Scriptation is an app that changes the way you deal with paper. Molly will talk about paper because she's with the Broadway Green Alliance, but it changes a lot of way you deal with paper and the sharing of information, which as stage managers, we know we need to do quickly, because the information we have, everybody needs to have so they can do their work. So I'm going to throw this to my good friend. I have lots of good friends. My good friend, Bonnie Panson, because she actually works with this app. There you go.
Hello.
Bonnie.
Thank you, Beverly. So thrilled that you're here and so thrilled that we're all doing this. My name is Bonnie Panson, and I am currently the production stage manager of Six, or as I like to say, in theory, I am the production stage manager for Six, which will be returning to the Brooks Atkinson Theater sometime later this year. So, which is really exciting. I am Also wanted to tell you that I just wanted to state that I am speaking to you from the island of Manhattan, the land of the Lenape people. And I also want to acknowledge how unbelievably grateful and lucky I am to have spent most of my career as a stage manager working with new works, and in many cases, new musicals, which is a beast and a life unto itself. And one of the great things when you are a stage manager for a new musical, whether it's a table read, whether it's a 29-hour read, whether it's a work session, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 work sessions, whether it's in a Lort theater that is a new work that's going to have plans for transferring, or whether it's the traditional out-of-town tryout that goes to perhaps 1, 2, or 3 cities prior to their finding a space, a permanent parking lot space on Broadway. Whatever the case may be, the one thing in common that the stage managers have is this real responsibility for getting the new material that comes into you on a daily, sometimes hourly basis, and distributing it to not just the rest of the creatives, but to your staff and the cast. Frequently, this is a daily process. It sometimes happens in the middle of the night, sometimes happens at 6 a.m., sometimes it happens in the middle of the day. But if you're doing a new work, the heart of that new work, as you're rehearsing it, is adapting your material and your paperwork that you've got there, your whatever you're working with as your hard copy now, to what's now happening. Oh, she's cut from that scene. Oh, we don't need her in this rehearsal. Oh, nope, that was yesterday's line. Now there's a new line. And you hear this all the time. And it's not only true just with script, but it's true with music as well. And that's the process of a new musical. And every time I do something like this, I like to explore a different methodology for getting scripts and distributing them. And went through, thanks to Matt Stern and Tech Fridays, and yes, our good friend and associate Rico Cohen, I found out about this app. I kind of lit up. I thought, whoa, I've been investigating a lot of these, but this one made sense to me. And it made sense to me because it allows me to really keep my paperwork intact while I worry about my very important responsibility of getting new material and distributing it. So it's kind of a workflow thing that makes it for me and that I really enjoy. And I'm super excited about introducing this to you. I will tell you, it's got an easy learning curve for those of you, old dog, new tricks. I totally qualify. And it's not so bad. It really is kind of fun. And I will tell you that there are lots of, we're going to do our best today, and then we'll talk about more videos and demos that you could take a look at. But I think you're going to like it. And now I'm going to introduce my friend Molly Braverman, who I know both as a stage manager and who I've had the pleasure of working alongside as she is the amazing director of the Broadway Green Alliance, commonly known as the BGA. And I am sure that Molly's commitment to inspire us to use more environmentally friendly materials and introduce this business and this world to more environmentally friendly practices will inspire you as well. So I turn it over to you, Molly.
Thank you. That was a beautiful introduction. It is a pleasure to be here on this panel with stage management royalty up here. And of course, I see so many friends and colleagues in the attendees. So welcome. I'm Molly Braverman. As Bonnie said, I use the pronouns she, her. I am coming to you from the ancestral lands of the Lenni Lenape, who have stewarded the Delaware watershed where I sit here for centuries and continue to do so. And it is colonially known today as Philadelphia. And I do see some Philly SMs here, so represent. As Bonnie said, I am I am a stage manager. I currently guess we use the word currently, cover on several shows. So I'm excited to learn scriptation from a script management perspective when you have multiple binders. I'm sure many of you can relate. And I'm the director of the BGA. And with that hat on today, it is a pleasure to be here and talk about some really tangible things that we can do as stage managers to reduce our carbon footprint, to reduce our resource and extractive practice, and do so in a way that's that saves time resource and money resource. One of the main questions that we get asked here at the BGA is, great, I'm only a stage manager, what can I do? Or, give me something really that I can put into place on day one. We're at this moment where we get to disrupt our habits as we head back into the theater, and there are a lot of habits that have to be disrupted, and certainly our environmental footprint, which intersects with so many other social justice issues, is critical. And so I'm excited to turn it over now to Rico Cohen, who is going to share this resource with us. Rico is, of course, a stage manager and is I want to get this right, the product manager of Scriptation. Thank you for having us here.
Thank you, Molly, and thank you. There's nearly 150 people here right now, many of which I know personally, and I thank every person who is here for taking time out of their busy pandemic life to listen about Scriptation. I'm coming to you from if you can hear the horns outside, Forest Hills, Queens, which is the traditional land of the Lenape people. And if you do not know what your native land is, you can go to native-land.ca for a very cool map. I also wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that I am basically here wearing 3 hats. Most of you know that I have been a stage manager, very lucky to work on a lot of new musicals, many of which were on Broadway, some of which were with Bonnie and Beverly over the course of the last 10 or so years. And I am incredibly blessed to bring that experience forward into what I have now, begun to work on with Scriptation for the last couple of months. I'm also the founder of Bway Printing, which many of you have used for the physical delivery of paper to rehearsal rooms. Seems like an ancient idea in the way the world is now, but only a year ago, people got binders and paper delivered to their rehearsal room. But most useful today, I'm here to talk about Scriptation. I got involved with Scriptation very early in the pandemic when I went to the App Store and typed in script changes, and I went through a few things and I found Scriptation and I sent a cold email. And here we are, about 9 months later. So what is Scriptation? Scriptation is an app that does a lot of really cool things, but the one that you're going to be the most excited about off the bat is that it automatically moves your notes that you take on your script from the old script to the new script. So to get us all on the same page with that, I'm going to play you just a quick explainer video to get the conversation started. Can you guys see my screen? Bonnie, thumbs up, yeah? Great.
Think about how much time you spend dealing with scripts. Reading them, breaking them down, marking them up. And just when you think you have a handle on everything, a new script revision gets dropped on your lap. This happens a lot. You get a revision, you have to figure out what's changed, and you recopy the same notes over and over and over again. So we thought, what if an app could do all that for you? Meet Scriptation. Here's how it works. You open a script and you start making notes. You can highlight, underline, type, draw. You get the idea. And when the revised script comes out, you can import all your notes into the new draft. Scriptation will even tell you if something's been changed or deleted. So what are you waiting for? Get Scriptation, now available in the App Store.
Cool. So if you have not already been to the App Store to download Scriptation for free, I recommend that now is a great time to do that so that you can play along as we go. Just go to the App Store on any iPhone, Mac, or iPad, and you can download the app. So let me share my iPad. Perfect. All right.
Yes, you are.
There we go. Okay. So let me just move my notes now over here. All right, so when you open Scriptation, you land at a place to navigate all of your files that you have imported into the app. And what I'm going to work on today is a first rehearsal draft of a musical. And what Scriptation allows you to do is it offers a series of annotation tools. So you can highlight, you can include text boxes, and I'll just demo really fast that there's a really cool thing called Scribble, which automatically converts your handwriting to text. There is a sticky note feature that allows you to do hidden notes that you can move around your screen. All sorts of different pen, marker, shapes, lines, arrows. Put in a picture of a ground plan. Now, all of this seems very sort of basic. You can mark up a script in a million apps. Rico, why did you gather us here today? The reason that we gathered here today is because everything that I just took notes on exists in a single layer. And if I was to toggle on a different layer, you can see an entirely different set of notes. So Scriptation is a layered annotation tool that allows you to take a variety of different notes. And the way that I set this script up was about blocking, was about scenery and costumes. So if I go to, in this view, I have my blocking layer turned on and the scenery layer in the background. If I was to go to this page here and toggle on just the scenery layer, you can see that I have my scenery notes active and my other notes in the background. Same thing if I now go toggle on the costumes layer. At the moment, I'm only looking at costumes. So I could put in different quick change timings or different notes that are hidden. One of the features about this that I think is super useful to our world is the saved annotation. So let's say you input different blocking templates or different symbols that mean something to you. You're able to pull those from basically a library of all of your favorite annotations. Now, this is just pages of a script. Let's say for the moment that we went over to this tool on the far right called the Page Maker, and we wanted to add in some blocking pages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a page from my photo library. And if I go to the Scriptation folder, we have this blocking page from a musical. Bonus points if you can throw in the chat what musical this is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag those around. So once I have my pages inserted, and if I was to toggle back to 2-page mode, we could have something that very closely resembles a 3-ring binder that we're used to. So we get the idea about blocking pages, we get the idea about layered notes. But the whole point of what Scriptation really offers is about what happens when the new script comes in. So I'm going to go back to my files and say that I have in this new tab the rewrites for the second day of rehearsal, going back to single page mode here. So what do we have? We have a new page 1 with all of the revisions, a page 1A, page 2, page 3, 4, 5, no page 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And what I'm going to do is perform a transfer from the new pages. So I'm going to tap the transfer button and I'm going to select my first rehearsal script. And on this transfer window that pops up, what it's going to say is I'm transferring my notes from the rehearsal draft forward into the pages. And what I'm going to do is toggle on a button called collate, because what I'm doing is I'm working from a full draft of the script and going forward into pages. What it's going to ask me to do is select all of the layers that I want to transfer. In this case, I'll select the 3 layers and not my scratch layer that I was just working on. And it's going to create a new file. So I'm creating a new master script here that's taking the new pages and incorporating the notes from the old pages. So let's see what happens when I go through my notes. It tells me already off the bat what the deleted annotations were. So if I was to go, I have a deleted annotation on page 3, for example, and that's page 3 of the PDF. So I see that I'll circle it here, the highlight that was on the opening set of lyrics changed because, shocker, on day 2 of your musical, your opening changed. So that annotation is no longer relevant to the new content. And if I wanted to go back and rescue that note, I would be able to copy and paste it forward. But what Scriptation does is it analyzes the text and it can see whether content was entirely removed or changed. So I'll keep toggling through the notes here. So we have new page 1A, which incorporated in. We have the blocking page that was before page 2, still before page 2. And all of the notes have moved forward let's talk about this. So in the transfer, this is telling me that there was a change. So it tells me what the original highlighted text was, and I see what the new highlighted text is. And anytime that you have an annotation that was on a piece of dialogue that got changed, here it is again, it tells you what the original highlighted text was in the new draft. Now, you might ask yourself, okay, this is now day 2 of the musical. What happens during day 3? We got more rewrites. Okay, so let's show you what happened on day 3. Page 1 is still there. Page 1A cut. It got all that content went back to page 1. We have a new 2, a 3, a 4, a 5-6, a 7, and an 8-9. So, and a 10. So let's see what happens when I do the transfer from my day 2 script forward into the full script. Tap next. I'm going to transfer all of my layers. And it does the transfer again. And in the new script, we're able to see that all of our notes moved forward. Page 1A, as you can see, is gone, and the content got absorbed. Page 2 and our combo pages took the annotations that were on page 5 and page 6 and moved them together to be on the combined page. There were no annotations on 8 or 9, and 10 stayed the same. So that's transfer. And what transfer does is it works incredibly well on scripts, and it really allows you to save an unbelievable amount of time. Like, we've all been there where, you get the pages at some ungodly hour of the morning, you start printing as soon as you get to the studio, you're chasing the clock to finish by the time the first person walks in the building. And then it's like 9:55 and you're like, nobody's put their pages in yet, or if they have, they're furiously all over the place. And what this does is it turns the process of pages all over the floor while people are furiously rewriting notes into a real digital solution.
Okay,
and that's
Rico,
sort of what I'm excited about. Yes, Bonnie,
Rico,
tell me.
if this were the only thing that this app did, I would be
Yes.
like, oh, thank you, world. Because as everyone who's done this knows, that's the terror of that first part of the day. And as you
Yes.
so wisely said, as you hand them to actors as they walk in the door at exactly 10 o'clock and ready to go, then there's a director saying, let's do the new scene first. And everybody
Yes.
is like, hey, can we all have 15 minutes to put these new pages in? Now, yes, of course, it's good to have that time for actors to look at the pages and incorporate what this change means to them in terms of character, in terms of lines and questions that they may have. But the actual physical problem of, as you said, an entire cast sitting on a floor with a 3-ring binder, taking out a page and putting in a new page is amazing. But even more importantly, the blocking from yesterday afternoon's rehearsal does not go away. So if
Correct.
they've written anything in, if you've written anything in, it stays with it because of the transfer. I love that. Now, here's my question.
Yes.
Where did the stuff go that we cut?
So that's a really good question. So what happens is, so let's go back to the day 1 script. Nothing transfer. Sometimes you might think that transfer means it's pulling the notes forward. Nothing is ever removed from the old script. So if there was ever anything you needed to rescue, so I'm going to open up my day 2 file here. If there was ever anything you needed to rescue from the day 1 script, you could perhaps, in the case of like, I'll just take this annotation that's a rectangle, for example, I can copy this rectangle over and just simply paste it into the new script. Now that's perhaps not the best example. Let me show you a better example. Let's say that I have this little blocking chart here. This will be easier if I do that. And I have my little selection tool. I'm going to copy this entire chart. Let's say that it was on a page that got cut, and I'm now going to paste the chart. So you can, any annotations that you have on your day 1 script that perhaps, let's say you cut pages 20 through 30 and you needed to rescue some of that content, what you can do is, if you need to go annotation by annotation, just do a copy and paste. The alternative to that is, if you wanted to capture the entire page, you could copy the page and then go to the page maker of your other file and paste the page. Now, I'll be honest, there's a little cleanup you would need to do to tell Scriptation that this page that you just copied in is now real script as opposed to an added page. Because the way Scriptation works is it understands a PDF document in 2 ways. There's a native script page. This is the real script. And then there's everything else. So you can put in 100 blocking pages or 100 different diagrams or scene by scenes or whatever. But the document that is the official script is what, when we do a transfer, it says page 1 equals page 1, page 2 is 2. And we can throw the link in the chat. This thing, it's called master edit mode. Don't start there. But if you become an advanced user of Scriptation, that's something you want to be aware of.
Rico, I can see that in the Q&As that there's some really good questions that, just to clarify, as everybody has their own Scriptation app on their phone, they have their own layers. My Scriptation app, as it exists on here, is at this moment not shared with the actor's Scriptation app.
That's correct. Yeah,
so if they have blocking, their pages are being saved or transferred as they update their pages, and or lighting designers and or, fill in the blanks. But there's ways that we can share the same document and share the same layers. Do you want to talk about that now?
Sure. Yeah. So let me just do a very rudimentary explanation of layers for anyone who is confused. So I'm going to hold up this 3-ring binder here for the Broadway production of Fully Committed. And on this page that has no cues and no blocking, which is a very good sample of what Fully Committed was like. This is what you have when you import a file into Scriptation. All you're getting is the piece of paper that you would take the notes on. And every time you add a layer, it's another clear piece of transparency on top of it. So you can have 100 layers. So this is your costumes layer, and that's your blocking layer, whatever. Your layers can have nothing to do with my layers, or it can have everything to do with. So let me close out of this script for an example and give you a really good layers moment here. So let me open up this run sheet. And this is the Be More Chill run sheet. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to page 3. So in this run sheet, you can see that there's Rico's notes. Okay. And like Auto Deck 21, that the stage left traveler got cut from there. And we need to dry tech the transition into 1.1e. Okay, so that's all well and good. That's on my layer. But let's say I was collaborating with Beverly. And what I'm going to do from my other iPad, and I'll show you how this is done, but I'll be the recipient first. I'm going to share just the layer. So it says input. So I did an airdrop, which is like the greatest thing in the entire world. So I'm going to go to my run sheet, and it knows that the layer that I just got airdropped, it knows where it belongs. So I'm going to import Beverly Jenkins's layer into my own file. Now, can take this example and consider it for any document, whether it's a script with blocking from a side rehearsal, or you take the kids down to the lobby to do something. Like there's all different examples of where we want information to come together in one collaborative way. So right now I'm viewing and can edit Beverly's notes. Let's say I wanted to also view my notes on the same document. What Layers allows us to do is really collaborate with one shared document of a PDF and everyone's different contributions towards that document. So what I did from the other iPad was I tapped the 3 dots next to the layer and tapped export. So what I did was AirDrop, which I think is like the easiest solution. Like you're just standing next to somebody and you do it, but you can also do a variety of other integrations. So you can you can set up a group that's like this. If you had a cast group, if you had a stage manager group, if you had all of these things you could just set up through email, you can from right within the app really share information with whatever group of people need the information shared.
And the reason why it's good to look at this cue sheet, because it proves your point that it not only works for the script pages, but if you're using this app, you can use it for your cue sheets. And so the people backstage can have the app and see this. Now, they're not necessarily seeing live updates. I want to make that clear, but everyone can, as if they had the paper folded up and tucked in their pocket, they could make their changes on it at the end of the day, say, hey guys, these are the changes we made. It still does require, thank God, a human being to then say, okay, I have Beverly's layer, I have Rico's layer, I have the Stage Right Carpenter's layer, I have the Rail layer. Now let's make a new document. And then you make a new document and then you start the next, and you make the corrections on the original Excel doc, PDF it, and there goes, you're starting day 2. But what it does allow is for everyone's layers to be seen by another person as you're going through the day, so that I don't have to say, what's happening there. And they say, we cut that, Bonnie, we cut that. Just look at your sheet, so. So
I want to do one more layers demonstration about this, and then I want to get to somebody's questions in the chat. So I'm going to go back to my day 1 rehearsal script here. Now I'm going to demonstrate a feature called Live Layers, which is one of the features that is exclusive to the team sort of group licensing program. So what I'm going to do is I have this file is open, and I'm going to create a group called SMs, and I could password protect it if I wanted to, but I won't. And what I'm going to do on my other iPad is I'm going to open up the exact same script. So let's say that I wanted to share the blocking letter with a teammate. And you see how it says owner synced version 1? What I'm going to do from my other iPad is I'm going to sync a new layer, call it Rico. This is page 3. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to share the layer back, and you're going to see that through the Live Layers feature, you're able to get instant pop-ups between a team. So I now see Rico layer, which was synced from, let's say it was Beverly Jenkins's iPad, and it has the notes that were on just that layer. Now, the reason that this is different from just airdropping a layer to an individual person is that within a group, it allows you, within a team license, it allows you to create different groups. So we have an SMs group. We can create another group and call this the actors group. And using Live Layers, so let's say that I now create, a layer, and this will lead into something Bonnie's going to show us later. If I had a layer called line notes for a particular actor, and I had on here, let's say I had, let's say somebody screwed up that line. I could share that layer with just that or anyone within that group. So what Live Layers really allows you to do is sort of an instant but closed group of sharing, where everyone will then get a pop-up saying, Bonnie shared a layer with you, or Bonnie, there's a new thing for you here. So Live Layers is a pretty cool feature in that regard, but it's all about collaboration and sharing the information with the people that need it.
Should we go to some questions?
Let's go to some questions. All right, Jason Briard. What if in the middle of the song I need to add counts or reformat the page? Will it transfer? Does it think of it at notes in the middle of the song? Counts. Okay, so what you would want to do in that case about adding, if you needed a counts page, if from the page maker, what you would do is add in, I'm just going to take a random, like let's say this blue page represents the Jason Briard counts page. Wherever this page is, so in our life right now, this blue page is between page 4 and 5. When you do a note transfer, whatever you add in is going to stay between page 4 and 5. So it's not going to think of it as script. It'll just think of it as your own personal notes. For instance, script I divide into 3 pages in my blocking script. In that case, you would want to make a copy of the blocking page and then paste another copy and move it around. But you can make as many, they're like, think of it as user added pages. You can do whatever you want with user added pages and it's not going to screw up the transfer of your actual script.
Hey, Rico, read the full question when you're answering them so that we can all know what you're
Oh, of course. What a very good point. So Elisa Adams says,
yes. Oh, but wait a minute. But hold a second. I
yes.
just want to clarify something on with Jason and the counts page. So
yeah,
this PDF of the script that's in there is, let's say it's the author's version that came to you as a PDF, because we have to talk about how these scripts get to you and then you know how they come in. But so let's say you make your stage manager version of that. Then that's when you put the counts into those pages. Then your PDF script will always recognize those counts because that's your base script. And
correct.
as you get new pages, it will compare that to it, and your count, your series of counts will stay in there because that's something that you added in there. I think.
Yes, but if you do that, if you take the pages that don't have those, like if you're going to say that your counts are in your script forever, the cast version of the script may have a different,
right?
Like you would want to do a note transfer with the script that's always yours,
right?
So
right.
that might be more might be more trouble than it's worth. But I'm seeing a lot of questions about how do scripts get into scriptation.
Yeah, go for it. So what do I do? So how does it start? So you say it's best to take it from an email. So there it is.
There it is.
It says, here's the new draft. And
right.
It's best when you're first starting out to take it from an email. Now I say, and then you can drag it in there. Show them how it like says, where do you want this to go?
So yeah, so all I did here was I opened up this email attachment and you tap the Apple Share button. Tap Scriptation. If you don't see Scriptation, swipe to the right and tap more. It will be in the list of other apps on your device. And let's say that I just select and it ends up locally on my, let me close out of that. That's the other version of the same file. So there it is in the bottom of my files, musical first rehearsal draft. Now,
yeah, but Rico, what about email, Dropbox?
Oh, what a good question, Bonnie. It's like we rehearsed.
No, because I live out of Dropbox. So what does this mean?
Right. So it's very simple. So what you can do here is you can add cloud connections. So we support a connection to Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, and iCloud. Highly recommend Dropbox. And what it does is it syncs to your entire Dropbox, which is available. So you can have as many folders as you would like in your life. And within each folder, so like, let's say that I was to open up this file here. And if I was to make some changes to this file, we'll just make a very simple one. We'll write Rico there. And when you close see the uploading. So anytime you close your file, it syncs back to the cloud so that you have a local copy of it on your own device. And if your device gets thrown in the pool, stuck in the rain, stolen on the subway, it will be in Dropbox.com or on your phone or any other place that you could reference Dropbox. It's the safest way to store files.
Rico, I'm seeing a lot of questions too in regards to this
Yeah.
about are pages ever deleted? When you get, new pages, I might want to go back and reference my old pages. Are they still there?
They are still there in your old script. Every time you do a transfer, think of it as creating a new file. So like every day of your life, you will have, anytime you get a new script, what you're doing is you're transferring notes. So you're taking your new pages, your old stuff, and you're making a new script. So nothing ever gets deleted. No annotations, no pages. And if you need to copy and paste stuff, like in the world of, new content, that is totally within the world of what you can do.
More questions?
Let's do one more questions here. Elisa Adams says, so as stage manager, you are managing a bunch of people interacting with their own app and their own computer. I can see that would have its own management challenges. Yes, I agree. There's a little bit of onboarding to get people to sort of understand how transfer works. You do it from the new script and you pull notes forward from the old script. But in the same amount of time that you have a director staring at you for 20 minutes saying, are we done yet with the pages? Are they in? Why is there trash all over the floor? Do one quick little tutorial about this. And we have on our help desk about 200 articles and a lot of videos that are voiced by someone who sounds a lot like me that are super helpful to just understanding how this works. Doc Zorthian says, if you need to update the script, can you update all of the versions of the script at the same time? If you needed to update your script, you would update the live version that you're working on. And if you wanted to update the version that other people were working on, you would either need to send them a new PDF with whatever the changes are, or you could send them just a layer, which would go on top of their PDF with the rewrites. So think of it as the fastest way to distribute a page to the entire room is sharing the layer with the new content. And then everybody has the thing. You're not running into the hallway to print a thing and hand it out like crazy people. We've all done that before, but there can actually be a simpler way. Shayna Penn, can music scores be integrated in? Yes, you can add in music just like you would add in a blocking page. You could add in a whole song. You could even add in particular measures of music onto your script page. I will say that transfer is designed for scripts and designed for words. And when we do a transfer from, if you were, I know we have music copy, we have some music folks on the call. If you were to do a transfer from, big number 5 to new big number 5, it's going to follow the text. So it obviously doesn't read music. So it's going to do its best job to move your annotations to near the text that's like it in the new file.
But it is incredibly helpful for those of us who cut and paste portions of a score into a script, and or like some lighting designers have an entire score page on their left-hand side. This becomes a very helpful tool because they have their script, they can have the various layers of cues. The lighting team can on a daily basis get their updates, script updates, and remaining constant on the left-hand side of the page can be whatever music score you want. Or in my case, I can take that one little measure that's going to tell me where to call that cue and cut it out and put it in a box and transfer it onto the document so that it's there.
Yes, and I'll just show you I'm going to do this with just any old image, but the easiest thing to do to put just a few measures of music into your file is to take, let's just imagine, if you will, that this is a score. What you can do when you import the file, when you import the photo, is you can trim it down, and I'll just leave it to be this title box here, but let's just say that represents 4 measures of music. And now we can put our 4 measures of music exactly where it needs to be in the script. And then that will travel and that will live in your script as part of all of your other annotations. If you were to put in an entire page, it would live within the page maker and it would be like the blocking pages that you can also add in. Very good. I think we got to the bottom of the questions. Christina Baracco says,
oh, what does Christina say? Hi, Christina.
Hi, Christina Braga. Script changes. It sounds like the app will know when annotated dialogue gets cut or changes. What about dialogue that has not been annotated? Is Scriptation smart enough to know everything that has changed since the last version? Really good question. So, and I promise I didn't even pay her to say that. So here, I'm going to open up two files here. And let's just delete this. This is an unplanned demonstration, so obviously the file is not so great. So here's what we're going to do. There is a feature within Scriptation called Scriptation Compare. So I'm going to take this thing that is called the shooting draft. So let's just say this is the second script, and I'm going to compare it to the table draft. And by selecting the Compare Scripts feature, after performing the transfer, it generates a report of what has changed in the file. So it saves an entirely new file that does nothing but offer a word-by-word comparison of what changed. Now, I will say, this is built to read a fairly industry standard formatting of TV film scripts. And if you go, we'll throw the link in the chat, but if you were to go to our formatting guidelines page, what I have done is basically built a Microsoft Word and Final Draft template that is designed to work with some of the cherry on top features of Scriptation, of which this is one of them. But if you were, so Christina, if you were to not optionally opt in to doing the compare scripts, it would not prompt you in terms of what changed elsewhere. It would only give you those little pop-ups, the little blue boxes. Those are changed annotations. It would only give you that if you had actually marked up something.
Can we answer Julia's question about bookmarks?
Yes.
Hey,
Sure.
I think it might be in the chat.
Oh, I can't even see the chat, to be totally honest.
Okay.
It's hiding somewhere.
And you tab pages so you can locate and move to a song quickly, not just.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I was all excited about this, Julia, because the bookmarks function on Scriptation, like so many of these, are made for film directors, DPs, camera operators. And so the bookmark, I think the bookmark thing is going to work for me. So for instance, I'm going to go rehearse a new Dimitri today. So I'm going to bookmark all of the Dimitri scenes so that when I start this rehearsal, I'm not saying, oh yeah, and the next time is, oh, let's find scene 5. Oh yeah, go to page 4, you know, whatever. I would have all of those bookmarks there. And so I could easily just go to the bookmark function and then choose that scene, and up comes that scene. And it's a whole scene and not just a page, I think, right, Rico?
Yes, so let me demonstrate the bookmarks here. So there's 2 different ways you can do bookmarks. So when you're on, let me close out of this, one less thing to look at. So when you're on a page, I'm on page 2 here. If you tap on the top toolbar, the little bookmark icon, which is the 3rd icon from the right, it was going to create a bookmark on that page, and I want to create one on page 3. Okay, that's all well and good, but now what do I do with these? By tapping the 2nd icon, the open book, what it allows you to do is edit and give them a name. So if I was to call this, you know, scene 3, and I could call this scene 2, let's try with actually using typing. And what it allows you to do is that you can create a ton of bookmarks and then reorder them, and it's not going to affect anything that's happening in your script. So by having, and yes, these bookmarks transfer to the new draft. So by creating these bookmarks, yes, Bonnie, you could totally prepare yourself for an onstage blocking rehearsal. And let's say you only had that layer hot with the one principal that you're doing that rehearsal with, and you preloaded your layers. Like it just could not get easier, frankly. There's a lot there.
The other thing that I'm gonna plow into this one because this was like a real interesting thing for me, aside from the bookmark one. Okay. I cannot tell you the number of times I've been in a room and everyone says, no, we need to change that line. We need to change that line. We need to change that line. What do you want to make it? And someone says, I think I should say, no, tell them to go to hell. I'm not going to do that. And everyone says, oh, that's a great idea. So you can do one of 2 things. You can either immediately in a blank text box, take your
Yep.
script and add it in there. Or if it's some really long, complicated line that you're not really sure what they said, you could say, here, come here and say this into my computer. And you can use the voice record line function and say, here, say that line. And they can.
So you can make a recording of exactly anything that you want. And now you have this audio recording, which you can make a recording of exactly which you can play back. And now that's going to transfer to your new script. So what's going to happen when you get to page 2 and you have your asterisks on the side from your Word or Final Draft export that show you what your new material is, you then can make sure that it works. And if you want the sound annotation in your life, that's great. If not, you can it and move on with your life. You know, you can, within the text box, you can really try to fake making the text look as if it was real text. So like, let's say we've changed the background to white and we were to make it really small and we could sort of change the font. Like there's ways that you can sort of fake new lines until, you know, we've all been there, like the unofficial, like the author is not ready yet for the new material, but that's what we've been performing, you know, for the last couple of weeks. That's a way that it's not official script yet, but it's in your script.
And the other thing that I love about the music, about the sound function, is that that's a way, for instance, they will do this on a set. The director's going to go in and rehearse a scene with 2 actors, but they've already know what that underscoring is like. So that director has taken that underscoring, imported it into their scriptation book. And when they go to rehearse the scene with the actors, they just play that. And I immediately envisioned going into scene rehearsals and saying to people, okay, let's start this scene, but let's start it with the transition music that leads into this. And so then you play that. And then they do the scene. It's just, you know, or it's the same way of if you're working on a cue and suddenly you say, hey, you guys on the piano, can you play that transition music for me? Because I'm going to match stuff to it. So you can immediately record that and then use that.
Cool. I want to just answer Julia Jones's question and then get to some things I know Beverly wants to talk about. Julia Jones says, Rico, I started using Scriptation a few months ago and love it. Previously, I used Notability, and it had a great feature when you draw a line, a circle, a square. The program would straighten the line or make a perfect circle. Very helpful for your call script when you prefer it stays in your handwriting. Yes, totally understand. The circle feature does allow you to make perfect circles. However, I totally know what you're talking about with the auto straightening of lines. That is something that is on the coming soon list. And yes, totally understand. I will, up until recently, yes, I was handwriting my call scripts too because I prefer it in the handwriting. So I'm totally with you there. Cool. Beverly has a question.
I do have a question because I am 109 years old, Rico. So I know there are people on this call who know this about me, but I will publicly state this. I do not have an iPad. I've never owned an iPad. This seems, I know y'all are saying computer. Is it really, does the app work on a computer? Because I know it's iPad friendly.
It's very iPad friendly, and the app does work on the computer. If it didn't take so long for me to share my iPad screen, I would show you the Mac app, but I'm worried that I'll never get my iPad back. However, everything that I have demonstrated on my iPad here, you can do on the computer with one exception, which is the live layers automatic popping up thing is iPad only. But everything else is exactly the same on Mac. So if you have a Mac, you can get the same experience as you would with an iPad. Also worth mentioning that the app is totally usable on your phone. Now, am I going to take blocking on my phone? No, but it is really useful for being able to perhaps have an actor at a table read where you're able to really zoom in on your script and be able to share information and have access to all your files on your computer and your iPad, but they're just in your pocket. One particularly useful thing about the iPhone, I think, is with some of the crew. You know, not every carpenter is going to be standing on stage left holding an iPad, but likely they're going to have a phone on them. So imagine, if you will, distributing your run sheet to the crew, and they take the most basic notes on their phone in a text box, and then they either airdrop you the layer, airdrop you the file, and then you collect all of those notes, and you don't need to get the crinkled up paper from their back pocket. Nobody wants to touch that piece of paper anymore, and this allows you to have a much faster way to access that sort of information. So that's the phone. And yes, it's also compatible on macOS. And I see a question in the Q&A, which OS do you need to have on your computer? Catalina or later, but Big Sur is definitely the way to go. Even Apple has stopped supporting Catalina as of about 9 months ago. So Big Sur is totally the way to go. Beverly, you have another question.
I do. I've been storing them up because I'm old. All right. So I don't just work on scripts, scriptation. I know it's in the title,
Yes.
But the transfer feature you were talking about, can I use it on, say, I love a calendar. Can I use it on my calendar? Can I use it on my schedule? Different people might need to see different things. Is that possible? Does the document matter?
Yeah, so transfer is, the party line is the transfer was built for scripts, but it happens to work with a lot of other things too. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up this is the Bronx Tale production calendar. So you're sitting in there in that production meeting, and you're gonna get the calendar, and you're gonna take notes that might look something like the music stands get delivered, or we're not rehearsing that day, or this is when we're going to do our run. So I've marked up this script with some red annotations just so you can follow along, as well as, on Thanksgiving, you'll do parade stuff or not. So then you get the new version of your calendar. That was from Beverly.
That was
Jillian Oliver recognizes that calendar. I think this calendar was made by, a version of this was made by Jillian. So I'm going to do transfer. And I'm going to select the old version of my calendar. And I'm just going to tap begin. I don't need anything fancy here. And what is going to happen is that all of my annotations are now on the new version of the calendar. I have personally carried, everybody has that stack of papers that you just don't know what to do with for production. That calendar you get at the first meeting, the different, the cast conflicts sheet that somebody's handed you in a meeting with with the GM, it lives in this folder. And I've had this before, and you get the new version. You're like, what do you do? This is what you do. You transfer the notes over, and then you just don't need to carry it around anymore. So yes, I'll show you just very quickly. That you can also, I've done transfers with schedules before. So this is a weekly schedule from Bronx Tale from the summer, and we had a good time then. So let's say I wrote an annotation here that we found who was going to be the pianist on that day, and the first version of the schedule I did had the wrong time for the Sunday matinee, so we had a time change. Nevertheless, when you get version 2, I've already, did I do the transfer? No, I did it and then deleted it. So I'm going to do the transfer from the last version of the schedule. And what it's going to do is move the notes over. But this time I had 3 deleted annotations. And the reason that there's 3 deleted annotations is because the new schedule doesn't have Tuesday in it. The new schedule starts on Thursday. And the note about Smitty found its way to where it needed to find its way. And of course, the box found its way to where it needed to go, even though all that text moved around. So that's transfer on non-script documents. Cool. Lovely. Beverly, what's your next question?
My next question, darling, is I guess it's between me and Bonnie, really, because she's been using it. What involves Bonnie. So let's just say that, and I guess this would be also in a contact sheet also. I have written a document, I've given it to the production assistant, bless you all, to do line changes or to update the contact sheet and send it out to everyone. Can we just put in while the rehearsal's going on, the PA could basically be sitting there taking line change, lines that were said incorrectly, and then get them right off to the person without having to send the whole sheet, you know, everybody's notes. They can just say, these are yours. Would that be something like bookmarking or line
So
highlighting?
the way that you would do that most easily is by having a layer for each actor. Now, with one or two principals, this might be fine. But if I was to, here's one way to do it. You could just highlight the thing. The faster way to do it might be to just scribble, you know, and then there's the third way to do it, which would be to highlight that they screwed something up and then tap to add from within the annotation, add a note. So I'm going to say, this is what the actor said, connected to, so you see the little yellow annotation that's next to the line. So they know that they screwed something up within point X and point Y. That's what they said. And if I wanted to, at the end of rehearsal, the end of the run through, just export to Rob McClure and say, I'm airdropping you the layer with your line notes. Have a great time. That is absolutely something that you could do. So those are sort of the three different ways to do it. And again, what you're sending the actor is only the transparency with their notes, because they have the same script that you have if we've all done what we're supposed to do properly. His script matches your script. So he will now be able to say, he'll be able to hide his own blocking notes and hide all the other notes that he has from you know, various meetings and stuff, and say, I'm just going to toggle on the layer that was line notes from the run through on Friday. And then when he's done with those line notes, he deletes the layer and he's as good as new.
And how is, so, well, I know how it's saving me time because the PA's doing it, but how is this, how is this saving me time?
Okay, so this is saving you time in a few different ways. It's saving you time because we are attempting to avoid a period of...
Anybody who's been my PA, you know I treat y'all like royalty. There you go.
It's saving time in a few ways. So the most important way that it's saving time is it's saving time in a period of time that, let's just call it total death. And death is what happens between 10 and 10:15 when the director is staring at you saying, are they going to be done with their pages yet? We've experienced this before, Beverly, working on a new musical or three. It is a rough go. It's a sweaty moment. And you can email the rewrites to people in the morning. This can be done on the subway. Like, you don't even need internet to do transfer. You know, you import your file, you do the thing, and people come into the room ready. Now, Beverly, you're going to say, well, I'm not working at 7 o'clock in the morning sending out the pages. That's fine. You can have somebody else do that. But it really saves you personally time because you're not having to spend an hour rewriting your own blocking notes. Yes, of course, there's going to be a little cleanup on aisle 3 with, you know, whatever. You know, if you have 1,000 annotations, you're going to have to move some little things around to accommodate. But this is saving a ton of work in the rewriting of every single note as you go.
And the notes
in addition,
I lose all the time are those director's notes. You know, the things that from that first day of rehearsal when they start talking and you're going through the script and they say these unbelievable quotes and you have to keep it. And I'm looking forward to having those director's notes on one layer and then, you know, blocking notes and all that other stuff on other layers. But then as director's notes, I want to bring that layer up when I go into understudy rehearsal so that then I can remember all of those things that Jerry said first day, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes. So let me show you, let me just change direction here for a tiny moment. And in addition to the time component of this, I wanted to show you some of the nuts and bolts of really the way that you're going to, if you like this, the way that you're going to convince your company manager, general manager that it's a good idea. So putting on my Broadway printing hat for a second, I can tell you with great confidence between the beginning of January 2019 and March of the start of the pandemic, the average musical was spending $30 a person for them to walk in the door and give them a binder. The average play with 22 people was obviously a little bit less. So you add this up, that's about $1,000, no matter what the project is, to get everyone to walk in the door on a musical. So what I am attempting to explain here is that on a musical, If you even get 50% of the people in the room to not get a binder and go digital, you are going to be saving money no matter how you're going to have your general manager saving money no matter how you slice it. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about this in a little bit, but you can download Scriptation for free. Some of the features that I showed you today are more of the pro features that you can either get through an individual subscription through the App Store or through the team group licensing that the production would pay for. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But there is substantial savings at every level. Like even if you're doing a 29-hour, and I did some quick math here and assumed that you're going to be spending around $150 a week in a case of paper and a toner cartridge for every single week. So between a 29-hour, a 2-week, or 4-week production, there is serious money to be saved. Same thing if you were doing a play, there's less money to be saved because you'd be spending less anyway. But the idea here is that you can get Scriptation for free by downloading it. And if you want to experience some more of the pro features, which is sort of it's the advanced transfer, the collate pages transfer, it's saved annotations. There's a whole bunch of features that I frankly didn't even have time to show you yet. But when you're in the app and playing around for free, you're going to see a lot more. We can throw in the chat the link of what comes with the pro version, which can be done monthly or annually. Anyone in the world with an EDU email address or another academic email address can get a 25% discount. I also believe, though this hasn't been done in our world yet, that if we can make a compelling case to general managers that we are saving $30 a person on not printing a script and a score on a binder for that individual, they can reimburse Scriptation for a month, and that $9.99 can get reimbursed. They're still coming out ahead, and it's a much better deal for them. And then, of course, there's the production licensing, which you would buy either 10, 20, 40, or 80 licenses of Scriptation that everyone on your entire production can use. If that is of interest to you, you can go to scriptation.com/team and you can use code Bway20 for a 20% discount on the listed prices. So while I am here in this slide presentation, I'm going to go for another reason why you really want to think about going digital. This is a case of paper that is near and dear to all of our hearts. This is the thing that has made our process work for so long. For every single case of paper that we buy, it's 60% of a tree. That's like a little tree. It's wild. And for every case of paper that you are not buying, printing, and then recycling or throwing away, it's 600,000 BTUs, 449 pounds of carbon dioxide, 535 gallons of water, which is like perhaps the most astronomical number of all of this, just to me, and nearly 30 pounds of waste, which is about what the case of paper weighs in the first place. So to add a little bit more color to the environmental component of this, I'm going to throw it over to Molly.
Thank you. I love this. I actually love that you paired the financial savings with the environmental savings, because again, a lot of pushback we often get is, it costs more to be sustainable. Can't do it. And here's a proof that it doesn't have to cost more. You can in fact save while doing the environmentally friendlier thing. So I'm going to quickly take you through a little bit about what the BGA is about and why we're here and supporting a digital effort that is, with my stage manager hat on, awesome. So we have the Broadway Green Alliance has a mission to educate, motivate, and inspire the entire theater community and all of our patrons to adopt environmentally friendlier practices. We have 4 core principles that we use to guide us in this work. The first one is it is impossible to be green. That's just, you can't be the perfect environmentalist. You can only be greener. We all have a carbon footprint, even using a digital technology actually, uses carbon that takes electricity to run. So there's no avoiding it, but we can be greener and we can make better choices as we go. So the goal is to be greener tomorrow than you were today, and then next month, and then next year. Perfect cue. Thank you. Number 2, small and big actions add up. So you might be looking at this and saying, great, I know we use a lot of paper, switching to digital might not, it makes a difference, but how big a difference? Is that as big as, as putting solar panels on or something else? And our point is that we didn't get to the situation we're in right now with the climate crisis because of just one big bad thing. It happened because of millions and millions of decisions and actions that got us here, some really big, some really small. And so it's going to take all of us to undo that, begin to get us out of this crisis through the cumulative effect of our small and larger actions. Thank you. Next up, climate neutrality is insufficient. So what we mean by that is that we have emitted so much carbon in the air up to this point that we call legacy carbon, that in addition to zeroing out and reducing our own emissions right now, which must come first, we also have to look to technologies to remove legacy carbon from the air to create a climate positive movement. Hugo. Thank you. Stage management humor. I'm with my fellow nerds. Great. And number 4, there is no climate justice without racial justice. As many of you may know, frontline communities, BIPOC communities, and poorer communities are disproportionately impacted by the effects of the climate crisis. The call for racial justice and environmental justice are interconnected, and we must work together to create both a sustainable and a just future. So why now? Most of us are not in theaters. At the moment, we are looking to restart. I know. So we have the opportunity right now to redefine our priorities to promote social and environmental well-being. As you know, this adopting this new technology might feel like a disruption. It's we're used to our habits. As the BGA, I still haven't called a show off an iPad. That's my next goal. And so it takes all of us right now in this opportunity to move forward and put these solutions into our reopening protocols. We have the knowledge that prioritizing health and safety does not need to come at the expense of the environment. In fact, the situation we're in, if anything, sheds a spotlight on the inextricable link between the health and safety of our planet and our people. And we have urgency. I think, everyone now knows that the climate crisis is here. It's not a future problem. We are experiencing the impacts of a climate change world now with only greater threats ahead. Theaters are being impacted. Theaters out in California have had to cancel shows due to the wildfire season. The tragic hurricane in Houston canceled entire seasons. This isn't a future hypothetical. We're here and now, and we have the urgency to adopt changes. So a quick plug, we have a reopening greener toolkit free on the BGA's website. I'll put the link in the chat that addresses the different ways we in all different departments and in our COVID protocols can in fact reopen more sustainably. And I pulled out, of course, the stage and company management slide here. We are advocating that this is our go digital moment. Many of you, myself included, may have run rooms where there was an option for a digital script or an option to distribute the contact sheet digitally. But we're looking to flip that on its head and say, great, the default is that our script is going to be digital, right? We're going to distribute it via PDF as Rico has shown us, with an option to opt in to a printout. Some folks may need it for accessibility needs or other reasons, and that's fine, but we're going to flip that and make the virtual and the digital the norm going forward.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. No, we're very excited to be included in the reopening toolkit, which there's a lot of work that we all need to do about how we're going to get back into the room to make the stuff happen again. So we are very excited to be on that list.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, go for it.
I was just going to ask a question. I mean, obviously, you guys are a fantastic resource in that toolkit. And I was wondering, there are some other apps out there. Some folks have mentioned them in the chat, and sort of what makes, why choose Scriptation over the others?
So yes, there are quite a few other apps in the world right now, but the thing that makes Scriptation totally stand in a department all of its own is the note transfer. Scriptation is a script first program. just sort of knowing some of the other programs that are out there. Is Scriptation the program that you want to take all of your choreography notes in? This is about the script. Is Scriptation the program where you're putting together the binder in which you're going to mount the tour? Maybe not. But this is the program that you're working on a new musical, you're working on a new play. This is about the rewrites process and taking that particular aspect of what it is that we do and really making it a lot better. So that in particular is what makes this stand out on its own. I'll tell you just very quickly a couple of other features that are very unique to Scriptation. So like if you have a script that's imported with industry standard formatting, the actor highlight feature is automatically going to recognize character names. And at the formatting link that was put in the chat earlier, you can figure out how to format your script so that every time you get a new script, you don't have to go and physically highlight the lines. It will automatically recognize those character names for you. So like there's a lot that Scriptation can do for stage managers, obviously, but let's just think about some of the other people that are in the room around us. This has some value to the creative team taking notes on scripts before even stage managers are in the room and we've decided, let's lock the pages. This allows them to transfer notes because transfer does actually not require pages to be locked. Us locking pages entirely is, if you think about why we do that, it's because of the paper. It makes us print less paper, but no transfer does not even require that pages are locked. Think about it from new versions of the production schedule. So this has value, obviously, to crew with sheets, with cue sheets, with automation sheets. It can recognize your scribble notes and move them over to the new version. Obviously, less printing, less rewrite printing every single morning. It saves the time about inserting new pages. And something I actually just thought about yesterday, imagine the child guardian folks who are trying to get the children to rewrite their notes. Like this takes a huge stress off of, and they all have iPads for tutoring anyway. Like it takes a huge stress off of them having to have this binder that they're schlepping around New 42. Like it just makes it a lot easier on them as well. The layers thing from earlier allows you to take blocking from all your different side rehearsals and like share the layer with the PSM. They now have it all in one place. You could do a calling script in this. If you do, let me know. I haven't gone digital on the calling script yet, but there's absolutely no reason why you cannot. And then of course, as you get into the final leg of a production, the blocking script per layer per track, they're your M1, it's like line it all down to however you break down your tracks, that you can just teach that one track at a time.
Rico, something that I'm looking forward to is, now as we've advanced to a place in lighting where there are multiple sections of the shows that are on timecode. And you want to have those cues written, and you kind of have been given those by the lighting department, even though you don't call them on a nightly basis. It's extremely helpful to have the time code cues on a layer.
Oh my God,
that
yes.
You can read on top of yours, so that when the time code suddenly ceases to work, you just have to hit that layer and suddenly your script now has the time code.
Yes, that I had never even thought of that, but this is exactly, if you wanted it in the background, this is using some fake scenery cues that I put in originally. But like, let's say that if I was to rename this layer from the costumes layer to the lighting layer, so we can have all of our standard call stuff that would pop up in one, so here's like, LX29, I'm writing like a 5-year-old, but you get the idea. We can have in the background the timecode cues, and then keep them off if you wanted. And then when your timecode clock shits the bed, put it on, and then you're ready to go.
And the same is true for follow spot cues, so that if you had a follow spot cue layer, when a lamp goes out on 2 and suddenly you're saying, okay, look, 1 and 3, we're going to have to cover this. You guys they'll be covering it themselves, but at least you'll know who might be more in the Because I never,
No,
it's always had a trouble of keeping that set of cue sheets, too much information on my page, but it's nice to have them in a layered function where you could add it as needed.
All right, I see 2 questions here. Joy Hodgson says, can you view more than 2 layers at once? Yes, you can view all of your layers at once. By going to the layers menu and tapping show all of your notes will be displayed. You know, so of course it looks like a mess right now because we have notes everywhere, but that's how it works. And you can go select, let's say you want it all but one, just do select all and then toggle off whichever layer you do not want there. And then of course there's hide all, which gets rid of everything except the layer that you're actively in. David Sugarman, has anyone used this in the rehearsal process yet? And what was the company's response? Valid question, David Sugarman. So in a theatrical setting, there has not been a Broadway show that has used this yet. But Scriptation has been used in the TV and film world around the world for like the last 3 years. So this is a trusted tool in the tool belt of script supervisors, directors, DPs, ADs. You know, I talk to people every single day from around the TV and film world who like have questions or whatever. So this is, while new to the Broadway world, and I am, you know, sort of shepherding it forward into the Broadway community, I invite all of us to take a look, check it out, give it a try, download it for free, and see how you think it would be useful to you. You know, do I really think we're all going to walk in on the day after Labor Day to rehearsal and everyone's going to magically have an iPad and be on Scriptation? That's probably not going to happen. But what is going to happen is that if enough people commit to going digital, by committing to going digital, you will soon discover Scriptation is going to be the best tool to accomplish what it is that we as stage managers do. And then one person is going to get their assistant on it, and that assistant goes to another show, and the organic spread of this is going to spread. I will say, Come From Away, which has been filming literally right now at the Schoenfeld, is using Scriptation. Their live capture team is using it. So is Arturo walking around with an iPad? I don't think so, but if somebody is, please say that in the chat. But the team that is working at it from the TV live capture side, I spoke with somebody last week who was having trouble with transfer, and I was like, it's going to go the other way. You'll be fine. So it being used in the Come From Away live capture is the first known sighting of it in the wild in Times Square. So thank you, David Sugarman. Layers at once. Julia Jones, you can print so you have a backup at the call desk. Absolutely. So from the share icon, you can select different pages that you would like, or you can just share your entire file, and you can tap print. If you have a wireless printer, it would work, but you know what I would probably do is share it to save to your files or AirDrop it and then print it from preview. Going back to David Sugarman's question for a second, I will say in the live event world, we had a ton of people on the Oscars using this, and in all of the sort of large televised events, you know, some of the crossover stuff, the parade, the New Year's Eve, like. And we see it because people post about using the app like on Instagram and stuff, but it is beginning, like if the core of the Scriptation onion is the TV film scripted world, the layer around that is the live event, live TV world. And what we are attempting to do here in the Zoom is grow the theatrical musical play world for Scriptation. Mandy Scott says, when Scriptation uses from TV, does the company provide training to its members? No, not at this time, but we have been noodling on an idea of doing something like that as for folks who might be interested in the team program for an entire production. But good question. Very good. We are almost at time here. Any other questions, Beverly, Bonnie, Molly?
I just want to nerd out a little bit because
yes, please.
So I saw, first of all, there's some really, really, really great videos from all of those TV and movie people online. If you're interested, because they do some pretty good live instructional things. So that's how I got kind of up to speed on it. But they also have some really good nerdy accessories, so that if you have an iPad, you could put that thing on the back of your iPad so you can attach a handle to it, so you could walk around with it a little bit more easily. But here's the one that I loved, and it made me want to go to the Muni with the bugs in the rain ASAP, is that there's, of course, waterproof coverings for iPads. And I thought, this is what you need for outdoor theater. So you could have your script, but it would be a small, I miss all those squished bugs in my calling script, but you could have this waterproof cover so that if you're, doing outdoor theater, you can have a little extra protection.
Yeah, we have a sort of a hardware and accessories page of things that have come recommended from people who've used Scriptation, much like in webinars like this. So we'll throw that link in the chat. That actually does include both the hand thing and the throw your iPad in a pool waterproof cover. So a couple other just housekeeping notes as we wrap up here. The Broadway Symposium is coming up May 21 through 24. Beverly is on a panel about anti-racist stage managing. Molly is on a panel about sustainability for stage managers. Bonnie and I have both been panelists in the past. And if you don't know what the Broadway Stage Management Symposium is, go to broadwaysymposium.com, and it is the annual conference for stage managers where you can learn all about how the world is going to be going back to work soon. It is a by stage managers, for stage managers, and starring stage managers event. If you want more information about Scriptation, this video is going to be available online by the end of the week. We're going to email it out so that folks can reference this. It will be on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/c/Scriptation. And if you want to reach out to me with specific questions, you can reach me at rico@scriptation.com. And I would be happy to help you guys get situated. It's an exciting time, and I think this can be an exciting tool for us as we all sort of head back. So hit me up. I will be happy to chat with you about it. And thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you.
Farewell, friends.